Do y'all turn it on?
We are live. We are live. Okay, let me make sure. Yes, we are live. Hey, y'all. So, do you see it, Aaron?
No,
She tagged you in it.
I'm still looking. Oh, I'm on her page. I'm not on my page.
But it's on my page, and you can just share it to your page too.
I'm on your page. I can't see it. It just shows join us today for Facebook Live, but it's not showing the actual live.
Refresh the page.
Oh,
Refresh.
I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Okay. Well, I look cute. Okay.
Yeah, girl, you cute.
Today.
Hi, y'all that joined in.
Oh, I'm on her page. I'm not on
Oh, I'm sorry. Making sure. Hi. Thank you all so much for joining in. And I graciously ask that as you are watching, that you tag some other great mothers that you know and also share the video. And I'm looking forward to a great conversation with these wonderful, wonderful mothers on tonight. All right, let me mute this. All righty. Okay, we're gonna give it about another minute. I know we just started. It's 7:07. Where Mama's right, so it is what it is.
Okay.
But we are here. We are here. You know what? I've stopped apologizing for being late, especially when it's unintentional. I just stopped apologizing. My aim is to be on time, but I know, I know. I'm like, I am here. So, but thank you all again for joining again. And make sure we're still good. All right. So this is the second Thursday in the month. And so that means Courageous Conversations for Action. And these conversations are designed to just have conversations that I believe that we are all having, whether it's about race or politics, building our businesses, the emotional things that we go through, or even this conversation on tonight about motherhood, entrepreneurship, being a professional woman, and having to deal with all of this with our children, either at home doing virtual learning or on site. And I always, well, I've come to say more now that I'm not necessarily with the word of balance when it comes to motherhood and all of that that comes with it, but more so we are in this blend. And these ladies that I have on tonight with Miss Rebecca and Miss Candace and Miss Erin are true examples of that blend of working women and that are great and wonderful mothers, and who I'm privileged to know and have a relationship with each of them. You know, there's a saying that says your network determines your net worth. And so I can say with these three ladies, that means I am abundantly blessed because they are phenomenal. So we're going to get into it. I just do a brief introduction of all of them again for Courageous Conversations for Action, where we are building bridges, shining the light, and making a difference. And again, having those conversations that we all are having, and we're going to bring them out to the forefront. Miss Rebecca is a teacher by day, a consultant by day and night, whose passion is to work and transform the lives of women. Ms. Candace, realtor by day and entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur with her husband by day and night. And then Miss Erin, who is an author and a creative who just launched a new business by day and by night. And you have me, a mother of 5 and a business owner, and always seem to find something to get into. And so, just like we're here tonight. So, I'm excited to have this conversation because we have different perspectives. Ms. Rebecca is a school teacher as well as a mother. Myself, along with Erin, our children are at home with us on virtual learning, and Ms. Candace, her children are on site. So, we're going to get right into the conversation. Y'all, we are in COVID, right? We are in COVID, and we had a tough decision to make to keep our children at home or to send them to school. So, Erin, I would like to start with you. What were your thoughts when the pandemic hit and you had to make the decision to whether you're going to send them back to school or undergo virtual learning?
Okay, so I have 3 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys and a girl. But both of my boys have asthma, and they are 6 and 3. And so for me, the reason why we are doing virtual is because they are in that high risk category. But my son is also at an age where he tries his hardest to regulate himself, like with his actions, elbow bumps. But I wasn't sure that would be enough as someone who had their kindergarten year cut off short, and then it's just thrust back into it. We had tried like some driving services at church, and he would run up to his friends and say, just give me hand sanitizer. I gotta hug him. I gotta hug him. I gotta give him, and he still didn't get it. And so the main thing for me was just peace of mind. If I couldn't have peace of mind that he was going to be able to be truly safe to where his pre-existing condition wasn't an issue, then that's why we chose not to go.
Okay. Candace, so your children are back at school. So how did you and your husband, say, hey, we're going to make the decision with all that you all have going on?
Well, I'm going to say semi because our two youngest, so we have 3. Our oldest should be 13 Saturday, but so she is doing virtual, and then she goes on campus for a dance class. So 1 period a day. And then our 2 youngest are in daycare, and they've been going, they haven't stopped since they've been going to the daycare. So they haven't had to stop. Their daycare is a small center, so they haven't had to shut down the way that some of the larger centers have. And we've been very blessed in that. And basically what my husband, we did was we looked at what was the preparation for the school district. And so our main concern, of course, was from a health perspective, but also was looking at what is going to be the quality of life for our child whenever they do start. So looking at, what were the preparations that they talked about as far as like masks, social distancing and all of that. And we just did not feel comfortable as far as, this is for the older one, but we didn't feel necessarily comfortable with sending her the full day, simply because she was just not ready to be in a classroom with the mask on, because she was starting 7th grade. It's time for her to be social. She wants it's going to be a new building. So she was going to be at a new school and everything. And it just wasn't the time for us to risk that, because my husband, he works with a lot of people. And so that was going to put a lot of his job at risk. As well as with the younger ones, it was also going to put our family at risk by sending them to school when the oldest one was going to be around so many people throughout the day. And so, now that we've got into the swing of things and seen how school has been going, we're going to reevaluate in December at the end of this semester to determine if it's time for her to go, if she can handle that. We've had those conversations, because I know we'll get into that a little later about the ups and downs of it. But that was pretty much our decision, was the preparation for the school district and what was the quality of life for her and how was that going to affect our family as a whole.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Rebecca, so we used this from both perspectives.
Okay.
as a mother, but also as an educator. And I know that a number of educators decided not to go back into the classroom. And some said, we are going, only going to do it online and what we can do to. So your decision and the perspective that you see from both ends of this candlestick, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm directly in between both ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Shelby County, so Shelby County is 100% virtual, and that's where my daughter goes. And so that was, I didn't have to make a decision, but we had discussed it because she's in the 10th grade and she's social as well. So I do understand Candace's part. But she, was self-aware. She was like, I don't want to go in the building because I don't have time for anybody else who's not going to be responsible enough to do that. And so even if they hadn't went 100%, we were going to make that decision that she was going to stay at home at least until, they made another major decision. So she's virtual, and, the district that the district that we're in, when COVID hit and everything shut down, we maintained, so she's been doing it since March. So it wasn't really that big of an adjustment for her. And so I said, she's been doing it. We're just going to keep on and let her roll like that until some other major thing comes. Well, I live in Shelby County, but I work in Arkansas. So, Arkansas, we're going back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? To be very honest, why? Cases going up, I didn't go educate, I went person. And
right.
I will say that being in the classroom is definitely a benefit as far as the instruction with the kids, because they do have the opportunity to be face to face with you and get that one-on-one attention if necessary. However, it is still a risk because they are kids. And I teach high school, but they're still wanting to be social. They're still wanting to connect. Yeah. So maintaining that social distance protocol and making sure they keep their mask on and keeping their, desks so many feet apart, that is a cumbersome thing when it comes to the classroom. And it's something else that's added on to the teachers. And then as a mom, I'm in this environment all day with kids and with other people who, I don't know what's going on with them. And so it's high risk. And I come home and, before I can hug my daughter, I got to jump in the shower or whatever and make sure that all that's good. So it's kind of I'm getting all sides of it. And then my school does a hybrid. So I have students in the building and then I have a virtual class, one of my class periods. So
do you get paid extra?
No, we don't.
No, I just want to point that out there just in case any legislators are looking.
Aren't doing anything virtually. Yeah, we are. That's another bomb. Anyway, so teaching the virtual class and then teaching the students in class, you can tell the difference. They're getting the same instruction, but sometimes, they, like I said, they need that one-on-one. So you do have to go over and above and beyond to make sure the virtual students' needs are met and that they're getting everything that they need. And it's not being looked at in all directions.
Yeah, we know and that could be a conversation by itself. And, that's one of the other things I wanted to ask, is virtual really virtual? So so my understanding when I first was contemplating all of this, I was thinking that virtual learning was that the kids would be at home and that they would be definitely led more by the teacher, and mommy would be here to supplement their learning.
Right.
Well, to be honest, and I will say that for my middle girls, I love the school that they attend. I mean, I absolutely love, because I love the school, but I'm just talking about the concept of virtual learning, that I have to be present. Like, I need to be very present because there's a lot of introduction of terms and things that were not covered, and you can begin to see some of the disparities too. That's a whole nother conversation about what maybe should have been grasped, because they're introducing a whole lot of things and we're either Googling or I have to sit down and explain it thoroughly before we can move on. And so now I'm just like, to be honest, virtual learning is, to me, it is online. I guess I had a misconception of virtual. What did you think, Erin? For me, it's like this. They get an office hour with their teacher. She posts her office hour. They have questions, and she's very responsive. I can say that, but it's definitely individually student led.
Yeah, so we've talked about this a couple times before, but the issue with me was that I'm not used to my daughter not seeing her teacher. I don't know about other school districts, but at our school, it is very self-paced. So if they have a document drop or they have their assignments due or that are introduced at 8:00 a.m., if they're done by 10:30, they're done for the day. Then it's up to parents to supplement that. They don't have any like virtual, like the virtual office hours is basically just for questions, drop-ins. Hey, have you got this? It's not an instruction.
Yeah, it's not instruction. So, no.
As much as I like my daughter's school, I was kind of disappointed to see that they don't have any real instruction from the teacher. It is like a virtual. You don't have to be logged in by a certain time, as long as everything is submitted. And it's just different. And so my son, he's in first grade, and so his teacher, he still doesn't talk to her every day, but she uploads videos for assignments or videos on how to pronounce or read or enunciate and that kind of stuff. So he can still see her face based on how we stagger the videos. But it just it's the online, it's just distant. That's just the only word. It's just distant. Like I can email as much as I can, but sometimes I just want the teacher to be like, hey, pay attention, like get with it,
Yeah, like none of the memes, the videos that we're seeing, like these teachers.
But the curriculum is pretty good though, because we get like vocabulary and we get really cool
now
stuff.
I love the supplemental. Yeah. I do, but again, I recognize that we are there as parents, and my heart goes out to parents that had to make the decision, say, I want to keep them home, but I can't be as active, maybe due to work, because you have to ensure that you're right there. So
you have to be intentional. And if you're not intentional, it's not going to work.
Right. And so Miss Rebecca, how do you, conduct virtual learning? Are you there like say, hey, I'm going to teach this whole lesson? And I know it's not by choice. What do you have to do?
No, it's an actual class. I'm teaching.
Really?
Yeah. All the meetings about Zoom and do you hear me and all of stuff. Yeah, I get all of that. So and I think it makes a difference for the kids, especially for the districts who weren't used to technology. They need that face-to-face person. They don't know, they're not abreast to how to navigate online just yet. Now, there is a definite learning curve with them because there's a gap with the
courageous conversations, honey. Courageous conversations.
There's a gap because just like you said, some stuff they did not get in the year. And it's difficult when you're going in with this full instruction and you find out that they don't know what letter A is and you're on D, right. So it's like, wait, you don't know what A is? And they look at you like, no, so you can stop. Right. So trying to, bridge that gap is a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I do full instruction. Now, there are some days where they're not in there the whole 53 minutes, but we do full instruction.
Full instruction.
They have assignments that I create. Now, my daughter's school, they see their teachers every day. Of course, they have full instruction as well. But what they did after, their district discussed some things with parents, they got feedback from the students. They did what's called asynchronous and synchronous days. So they have days where it's asynchronous. They meet for morning meeting and then they go to homeroom. And then as long as they get their assignments done, by a certain time that day, then they don't have to log into their Zooms. But that's on like one day, maybe I think might be 2 days a week. But the rest of the time they're with their instructions, like a regular class period.
Wow.
Second period, third period, they meet their instructors. And so that's what
not the experience here.
And that's what I've heard with some districts,
Mhm.
especially with the elementary kids. I'm like, I feel for the parents, who have to be that gap, be that bridge
Yes.
for the babies, because you
Right.
know, I have one friend, and she was like, I did not go to school to teach first grade, and I get it. I do understand that, and because I know my area. If I had smaller children, I would be crazy right now, because that's not my ministry. It's not my area.
Yeah. It's
And teaching,
it's something.
it's not. So my heart goes out to everybody that has smaller children, and you're having to be that teacher
Yeah.
supplement, that teacher's assistant.
Yeah. I think they're the teacher and
Maria
they get
teacher.
assisted. But I mean, that's our experience, and I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the truth of it. I've relearned the photosynthesis process,
Mm,
releasing,
mm.
you know, I had to relearn a lot of things to be able, and again, the openness is there to ask questions,
Mhm.
but you have children. I'm sitting there, my middle girls are 10, 11 years old. There are children who don't know what to ask.
Right.
And so you're going through this content, and again, it's really on site. I mean, it's not even on site. It's just you're
Now I
there.
will say this. Of course, there are some districts where the teachers have been mandated to do that, and they
Yeah,
want to be
right,
face to face and do this daily instruction, and they
right.
were told, no, this is what you're going to do. We've purchased this software, whatever, we bought licenses to this, so you're going to distribute that, and you're
And
going to
that's
follow
what's
the guide.
happened.
And that's what's
Mm-hmm.
happened in some districts. And
Yeah.
of course, I don't think that's fair, but that's another
A
conversation
whole
too.
nother topic, but this courageous conversations. It is not, because I actually raised some concerns, especially when I was just looking, because me, I'm like, well, who's the vendor? And I'm like, they're getting, they're in their state, they were up against a lawsuit for their practices. But I can say the content for the doing Buzz Learning, it's really great, but I was just inquiring about supplemental. But I think for us, we have that um we do have that leverage because we're active. But again, my heart and just concern goes out to, we're engaged, but those
Mhm.
children that are
That's
having to do this on I don't know if we are even ready to have the or see the outcomes of emotional distress that will probably occur by the end of this year if things do not change. And a part of that, again, courageous conversations for action, because we keep having people who have not been practitioners for years making a lot of decisions, or have not been practitioners at all in the classroom, or are not mothers. And we know that mothers are dealing with about 80 to 90% of what's going on and making decisions for families. But anywho, because y'all know I will get on the tangent.
It's the
Miss
truth.
Candace, so with your kids and your youngest ones at daycare, I haven't put Junior in daycare for a number of reasons, because y'all know. But even deciding to place him, I'm just like, again, I'm warning him home, and I'm just thinking about just different things. But you've stated that your experience, they did not stop. So I wonder then, that pressure, um, do you believe that you were, was that even a decision to make to pull them out? Because you have so many things going on. I mean, was that even a decision to pull them out, or is like you could make that decision because of all the work that you and your husband do?
Yeah, and it was a thought, of like, okay, so where do we go from here? But before I went into full out dramatic and panic mode, we had to sit back and look at, okay, what are the measures that are being taken place at the daycare center? And so at the daycare that they're at, they clean, they make sure that they're sanitizing, and this was before COVID. And so it was one of the cleanest daycares that I've ever been in, and I grew up around the child care industry because my mom worked in child care, and so I was very pleased with that center. And then also we had those conversations, and our director, she made sure that we were assured that those children would be safe, And if there's anything that was to arise, if, if there was any type of contact or anything where we need to quarantine or whatever, then she would let us know. And so the main thing was that she was very transparent with us. And so that eased our mind in that. And also with it being a small center was the one thing that also was a deciding factor was like, okay, we are safe to keep them in daycare. But yes, at first it was a thought was like, well, wow, so would they have to be at home? I don't have a choice. I mean, like I'm so busy because also, and one thing that, I do that you didn't mention is I work also for Girl Scouts. And so, and that's a full-time job as well. I mean, team doing too much, but it's just me. So, but so I didn't have a choice to leave them at home because there is no way that I'll be able to work throughout the day and still tend to them. I mean, my son was at home sick today and I still was having to work and child. I mean, so it's for me, it's like, you have to figure out how to blend it. Like you were saying, it's not a balance because I'm still a mom. I'm still an entrepreneur. I still work full time. I'm still a wife. And so it's, where does that fit? It's a puzzle. So it's not a scale, it's a puzzle. So where is that going to fit? So that little piece. And the thing for me is I had to learn that I can't be everything to everyone at the same time. And so I have tapped into my support, my village. I have family that I do not mind asking, hey, can you keep them for a couple hours or overnight, like tonight? So, because if I need a break, then I'm not afraid to say, look, I'm drowning. And so with COVID, it was just an added layer, with our 7th grader. She's not an independent learner. And we have learned that because for one, that content, it's gonna be me relearning it, and I don't have time to sit there and relearn it. Okay, and so
you do. I mean, seriously,
the
testimony.
I mean, it's one of those where it's like, well, what does this say? Well, what does it tell you that it says? I don't. And that was the thing too. Is I was gonna say I was a little disappointed in the way that things were presented. Because, like y'all was saying, I thought it was going to be, she was going to actually have that interaction with a teacher. That's not the case. And I have to remind her, baby, you got to check your email because they didn't email you today, and that's not normal for her. And so, it's been interesting. But yeah, our decision with the daycare, we didn't have a choice, but our choice was very sound. And we made sure that we had the facts. We were at ease. And I mean, we're pleased. It's one of the best daycares. Whenever you're ready, Shanquetta, just send him there and he'll be fine.
I know. And of course I know who the daycare is, we love her. So
hey,
with
Sean,
that particular one, I'm just, there's no concern there.
Hey, Sean. I would just like to piggyback off that. We have three kids, but our youngest does go to daycare. We had the choice to send him, but like she said, with little ones there, you just can't get anything done. And when you have to be that intentional about stuff, it was either keep him home or send him into his own bubble daily so that the other ones can continue to learn. And so that was our choice. And just like her daycare, I mean, they have top-notch COVID protocol. They haven't had any outbreaks, but it's just the peace of mind. I know he's safe, so let me focus on them. And then I might have time for myself.
Yeah, no, but again, we're mothers, right? And it's that blend, and it's all so real. And I wanted to dive into the next question about that choice, because as we were talking about before we jumped on here, that the fact that mothers and families, but we know that again, mothers are the primary caretakers. But if you are a man that's watching and or aunt, bless you, just speaking from my perspective, as primary caretakers and having that choice, one of the disappointing things was how it was creating so much friction. And the friction was honestly between people that know one another. Are you making the right choice by sending your child to school? They're going out to the park and to Walmart anyways. Or if you're staying at, or mothers and saying we're staying at home and you can't be selfish and you have to do this. I was very disappointed in what this school chore shaming have come to be. And so, with you, Miss Rebecca, how, especially as someone who supports women, do you see, especially talking to clients, that emotional toll that mothers are going through now, even making this decision and the impact and what it's doing to like personal relationships? Because these arguments were not had by because you're reading some random post. They were, but these were conversations going on between sisters and first cousins and sorority members. I mean, I'm just like, wow, we know one another. Everyone has to make their own choice what's best for their family.
And it boils down to your life period. People make their own choices based on what's best for them, or they should make those choices on what's best for them. And I have seen, exactly what you're talking about. The arguing or the pitting one idea or one concept against the other, and I'm right and you're wrong, or vice versa. And I'm like, it's what's best for you. So if I, came in contact with, I'm like, I have to be neutral, but yeah, it's arguing is not going to make the decision any easier. And so I just would say, put this time and energy into creating the environment for the child, because this is what's the most important part, is the kids. Even we don't like it, but we can deal with the tough decisions. It's the kids that have this adjustment to make. I don't care if they're a senior in high school, it's still a major adjustment for the kids. So when I saw those issues, I would just, if I had that space, I wouldn't just jump in somebody's conversation. But if I had that opportunity or that space, I'm like, it all boils down to what's best for the children. Even being, the teacher not wanting to go back into the classroom, did not want to go back into the classroom. Okay. But it was required of me. And I had to put that aside, and I have to put that aside daily and make the decision to go in, because I got bills to pay. You gonna pay this rent, or you're gonna sit at home and say I'm COVID free. I have to take that chance.
Yeah.
So
that's real talk.
It's from multiple perspectives. I have students who started off virtual because their parents made that choice, but they realized, like Candace just said, their children were not independent learners. They couldn't grasp the virtual concepts. They couldn't focus enough in a virtual environment. So they sent them to school, and now they're in the classroom. So they had to make that decision again, based on what was best for their child. Even in the midst of cases popping up, we've had cases in the school. So they still make that choice because they saw the greater benefit for their child. And I, as their teacher, I can tell the difference with them being in the classroom versus, being at home. So I do feel for the parents who are in that struggle. And I do understand, the tension that arose, but we have to remember the baseline of the tension. It wasn't just, do you go to school or not go to school? It's, we're all angry about what's going on with COVID. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people are just confused about, we're in a weird space right now. And so all those different factors, played into it. And so I would just be like, okay, let them see the bigger picture and not the nitpicking that, that is being promoted. For whatever reason.
And I can say, when it comes down to learning and being a mom of virtual learners, I actually appreciate this year. And I say that because, for one, I did kind of into wanting to homeschool them about 2 years ago for a number of reasons. And so with COVID, it presented the opportunity to see what that looked like. And it also presented me an opportunity to include some things that I really didn't know how to include when they were at school. So I wanted to include some things about with history and entrepreneurship and just some just some things that I felt like that they needed to do, and I could actually too on the other side do that as well as really concentrate and see their learning styles.
Mhm.
Because I couldn't, when I was helping them with homework, I, there was always a struggle to see, okay, what part and what concept, what steps were you missing, to not be able to understand this in total. And
Mhm.
now when they're here, again, a part of the greatness of that, with that self-pace, I can see, okay, we can't go on to doing fractions to decimals because I need you to, know how to find the greatest common factor and some things first. Again, that relearning. But I recognize, again, I'm the parent that wants to relearn this,
Mhm.
but I can also see as a business owner that sacrifice. Like, I can't do really business things until after lunch.
Mhm.
Like, I recognize that. And I don't think people recognize that everyone had to make those hard choices in their homes. Whether you were sending your kids back to school for economic reasons, trust the people that are home and have businesses, they had to make those same choices, when to take clients, do a whole different structure. And so everyone had to make those choices. And I believe that I really, what I really wish, y'all? I really wish we would have banded together more as mothers to make more demands on our elected officials, with our school administrators, because we knew we were already speaking to a lot of these things that we are dealing with now. And I wish we would have come together more. And maybe the opportunity still presents itself. I don't know, but then the way Arkansas votes, I don't. Big eyes, but anywho, next question. But my next question, I want to talk about support. And so Candace already mentioned that you had to call on your village, and yeah, this is a time for support. Again, whether you are sending your children to school, whether they are at home, things changed. For you, Aaron, what do you believe that could help you as a virtual mother, that we need to get out to our family members, our friends? A lot of people are suffering in silence. A lot of mothers were trying to say, hey, virtual learning, we're posting pictures and stuff, but then we know we're suffering. Like, let's just stop running and be real about it, because the more glorified we make this look and say, hey, virtual learning is not virtual learning. I said it. It's out there. It's not virtual learning, people. And I know some administrators are looking. I like you. I like my district. It's not virtual learning. So
some of it isn't, Sean.
some of it.
I have to advocate for the teachers now. Some of it isn't. What
But your district is actually doing it.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You are teaching.
Yeah, some of it.
Our children are getting hourly Zoom Monday meetups.
I got you.
Oh, but we had a pet show and tell, and that was nice.
That was cute.
That was cute. That was cute.
It was.
Except
it was
one little
cute.
boy.
And I actually like our facility.
And one little boy said, "I don't have a pet, but I have a baby sister," and he showed his newborn sister. And the class just clapped, and I was cracking up like, "Where's this boy's little mama at?" But kids can be kids.
Erin's so sweet. She's so sweet.
Today.
So sweet. She reels me back in.
Great. Yes.
She is sweet. But I can't say I love our facilitator. I wouldn't have wanted another facilitator. I really do love our facilitator. But again, we're hands-on with our children. I think that's the difference, because I know I've had conversations with other parents who say, hey, how is your child working through this? They're calling me, and I know they're probably calling other people, because again, it's not that experience. But going back to, the question of just, we need that support, and we have to just start being honest. Just anyone can jump in, but what do we need to just say hey, this is not a cakewalk either. Virtual learning, it's not a cakewalk.
I think like what you just said, you kind of, when you said that some parents are calling you and asking you, well, what are you doing? I think that would be a big thing for mothers who are struggling with dealing with the non-virtual learning. Just being able to share tips and tricks and tools that you're using and that you're maneuvering, and even asking them, because for parents it's a learning curve. Like
Mhm.
you just said, you're engaged and you're hands on versus another mom who is not, she's not willing to do all of that. She was like, I didn't go to school to be a teacher. I'm not going to be a teacher. You figure it out. And there's some kids dealing with that. So just, creating that circle for whoever, you can call, it's the no judgment zone.
Right.
This is what's going on. Do you need help? If I can't help you, I know someone who does. There are teachers who are willing, to talk to parents who need that extra support. And I just think we're not utilizing the immediate resources that we have. It's not necessarily something we got to create. We just
Right.
have to, start using what's there. So even those telephone conversations, email chain. This is what we did in first grade math today, just in case, blah, 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 and drop those quick tips. Sometimes just a quick tip, will stir something in the parent, like, what, I need to do better. Let me go in here and help Tata and see, what I can do. And what I can't do, she got it over here. Or, just having the thought that you have somebody helping you can get the ball rolling a lot of times. And some parents, like you said, with the mommy shaming, I shouldn't have kept them at home. And so they go into their own bubble because it's pride. I said I was gonna keep them at home, so I'm not asking nobody for nothing. Nobody needs nobody. This is not play or play.
Right.
Yeah, that's not what it is. And I think some moms just need to be reminded, because as women, we take on all the hats and then we get all prideful
Right.
when it comes to taking off the hats, because we don't want people to think that we get weak or that we can't handle it. And I think they just need to know, look, sis, yeah, you're tired. We see it. Come on, talk to me. Just, being open and letting them know what's going on.
Right.
Well,
and we're here. And we're here. And we've been a resource, for one another, even having this conversation. I thank Candace for her truth. Like, hey, listen, recognizing how your child learns, then recognizing your capacity, because that was another thing that COVID revealed. What is your capacity, right? Yeah. What can it be enhanced? What do you need to take away? And actually, what is priority?
Right.
And that was another thing, because we became so busy doing so much. And so we had to focus the main thing on the main thing. And I think one of the things that with, our decisions as mothers, that we expect those decisions then to be a cakewalk in the execution of it. Whether you send your child to school with on site, and then they were on site, and then the class broke out, so now they're back home for 2 weeks, and then they get to go back.
All of that. I see that every week. We have kids. It's like a rotation. They're quarantined because they were they didn't test positive, but because they were in close contact, they're at home for 14 days, and so we see the rotation. So yeah. That's happening.
Yeah. But I wonder, are we having enough of these conversations and communicating this? And like, so with Candace, when you recognize that with your daughter and saying that you probably would have to reassess come the end of this semester, reaching out, how did that conversation go, or how did you advocate? Because I believe sometimes too that's missing. Parents don't think, listen, no teacher has the final say over my children. I say that respectfully, Ms. Rebecca, but you know that where I'm coming from. No,
you good.
Yeah, but no teacher has that final say. It should be, decision making should be a collaborative. It should be engaging. But I think sometimes we're afraid to know that we cannot communicate or inquire, or even believe inquiries are non-peaceful. Because we have this falsehood of this bubbliness, when it comes down to school participation, yay, and have these flags. But I also know, because I'm the parent that participates in so much, I also am the parent that say, hey, we need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, but I know a lot of people are not strengthened or think they can even do this. So with you, Candace, and you know, recognizing just some things going on with your daughter, what are the steps and what did you all do? Communicating with her teachers and what was best to help your child?
I think for her, it was since we know that she's not an independent learner, it's making sure that so we got her a calendar and
Mm,
looking at, and so I make her so every week and or like Sunday or week or every weekend we say, okay, what are the assignments that you have that are going to be due for the whole week? What are the dates, the due dates?
Good.
Put them on the calendar because it was such an interesting transition for us because she was going into 7th grade and we wanted her to be more independent. And it's like, okay, you're not gonna have a little folder that they send home every week that we're gonna go through, you know.
mhm.
And so with her, like you're not elementary anymore. And so we're trying to teach her independence. And then also, and this is probably gonna be an unpopular thing, but you know, for one, I'm gonna say give yourself grace, but then also you have to let your child fail. And that's gonna be unpopular. But when I say let your child fail, they need to learn. And so I'm not gonna sit here and do your work because you were not paying attention and you don't understand it. I'm going to ask you questions, and that's one thing with Abigail is she likes for yes and no questions. If I ask you a question, it's I can say yes or I can say no. Well, we make her explain it. Why is it yes,
Yeah.
or
Mm,
how did you arrive at that answer? And
Yeah.
that's how we have conversations. Or it's like, well, the answer is this. Well, why is it that answer? And so for us, it's the way that we advocate for her is by helping her to arrive at those decisions and helping to make those
mm,
decisions and helping to be more independent. And it's a learning curve. I would say that because for us, we don't have time to sit down with her every day because it's like, this is that time where you're going to learn about yourself. We're not going to tell you that you don't know this or don't know that. You're going to know that you don't know this because you failed at this today. So,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
we go back to the drawing board and say, okay, we see that you need a little assistance in this. So let's sit down and talk about it. Let's figure out why you don't know it, because she can also get to the point where she's like, well, I'm just bored, and that's okay. Cause I'm bored too, sitting at home. And so, I mean, like the other day she wasn't feeling well. And I was like, listen, we're just gonna take a break. Let's go to the park,
Yeah.
and we have that creative freedom to do that. But then also it brings us to like, what is she getting from this whole experience? Do we need to look at homeschool where I can create my own curriculum? I don't know. So
Mm-hmm.
I gave myself grace in that. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with saying we started with virtual. She might be in the classroom. I don't know. It's going to change. We don't know, but I'm okay with that. I'm good with it. She's thriving. And when she's not thriving, we just pivot. So it's all about knowing your child and knowing who you are and knowing what works best for your family.
You said a key word, pivot.
Mm-hmm.
All of us, again, if you're a mother, whether you sent your child to school, whether they are at home, all of us have had to pivot. I'm talking about, but I'm not talking about a Tootsie Roll pivot. I'm honey, this is
Organize your life.
listen, a total reset. Oh my word, a total reset. But again, I believe like having these conversations as mothers and recognizing that here you are, you're listening to women, all of us in various perspectives, just saying we had to pivot. And then guess what? Next week we may have to reshift again.
Completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said the same thing. Aaron and I, we had a conversation one day. And we've been talking so much again about that support system. And being that support system, because I do not know. Well, let me ask you this. Being that we do need to, I think we do need to rely on one another more. I think we do need to strengthen one another. But if our children are still aligned with the public school system, should we be placing more demands on them? And when I say demands, I mean just requests. So for those who think, they're going to see some rights or something, people. But should we be placing more of those demands and say, hey, hopefully they will send out some evaluations. But even now making those calls, and what, as a teacher, Rebecca, what would have, I guess, be offensive to you to have a parent to say, hey, a parent is saying this and that, we need more. We think we need more supplementary learning. We need more direct learning. We need more face-to-face. Is that putting too much on you as an educator who you don't get paid for the extra work, right? Or do you?
Well, let's be clear.
Trying to be all in your business, but trying to get
you're good. We've been doing extra work for years and we didn't get paid for it. So it's not like you know, that's not offensive. I don't have a problem with the parent asking me for additional work for their child.
Yeah.
The offensive
It's the how
comes in. It comes in when the parents don't do like Candace said she did. They're not allowing their child to fail. They're not allowing their child to feel the brunt of not doing their work.
Gotcha.
They're making excuses for the child and saying, well, you know, they're at home, and you knew they were at home when you made the decision to keep them at home. Ooh. And so, you know, you got to figure out what to do to make that work. It's not on the teacher only to make it happen for your child. You have to be intentional. You have to be responsible. So we're offended when you come at us like we're not doing our job when you're not doing yours.
Oh.
And parents really, and it's not, you're not doing your job as a parent, but in this aspect, you're not when you're making excuses for your child and you're not allowing them to take the responsibility. I have kids who have not logged in since school started, and they're virtual students. And
but doesn't the school district have to report that? They don't contact the parents?
Yeah, of course we do. Yeah.
And the parents still don't have them log in?
Look, the parents are at work. They had to go to work.
Yeah.
It's not all on the parents, but it's a gap in there. And so when the kid is not logging in, you can't email me asking me for all the assignments that you've missed for the first 9 weeks of school, trying to make them up. And then you're mad because I'm not opening 99 assignments and giving you 100 points for each assignment so you can have A in the class. That's the offensive part. It's not asking us to help your child or do something extra. I love that. Yeah, that means we're collaborating. We're working together to make sure that this child is successful and that they're going to be great in whatever capacity they're in. But when you don't allow them to be self-aware and understand the consequences of their lackluster performance, then it's not beneficial for anybody. And it just erupts into something more. So like you said, making demands on the district as far as, you know, y'all need more structure or more participation from the teachers, from what you guys are saying. It's nothing wrong with asking for that, because you don't have a degree in education, and that's fine. So I don't see anything wrong with having those courageous conversations with the district and asking them, look, this isn't working, because everybody is more than likely going to do a reassessment when we start winding down for Christmas break. They might do one right before Thanksgiving to see what's working and what's not. So now would be the time for parents to, you know, in situations like you guys, to make those requests known. You know, what is not working. It's not the idea of virtual learning. It's what's really happening in the environment. And so talk to them, because it's not the teachers making the decision.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah, right. No, right. Right.
And I will say that.
I'm doing.
All I'm gonna say.
Right. Just smile. But you know, to that, courageous conversations, but still in wisdom, just in case my pastor and my mama watching. Because they were like, Shanquetta, we're working with you in your tongue. But I would like to say that I don't see us moving away from virtual learning anytime soon. And in fact, I can see this probably being a part of a larger scheme of learning that will probably come down the pipeline. I do I do, however, wonder, being that we've had the opportunity and you're seeing some things like from your perspective, Miss Rebecca, that you see students that are excelling, you see the gap. From my experience, I'm like, oh, I get to be hands-on. And with Aaron, we get to be more hands-on. We get to, because we talk so much about these kids, and just we get to see where they were struggling at. And again, going back to what Candace was saying, just about even making more decisions that may not even involve the public school system. Again, the reset here for mothers that I would like for all of us to take away is that whatever choice that you make or will make, these choices should be led and controlled by the people in your home. That we've gotten so far away from what our family model should look like, because we're trying to keep up with what the neighbors are doing in our subdivisions, what seems right that's going along with political lines. We have just gotten so far away, to me, from just building your own family legacy. And all of us, 4 different women, that will look different for each person and the choices that you had to make. I just want us to be comfortable, and then to be organized to say, this is what we need right now. As mothers, we need the community support. As our children, we need educators as well to be collaborative with us and understanding that of how we really shape. We need legislators to be on board and to actually implement and do things that is in the best interest of children and not the dollar sign. We need all of that. But unfortunately, again, it starts right here with these conversations. Because if we start creating those spaces and creating intentional actions that will say, where our district will say, hey, we hear you parents, we have to make some changes. We hear, because even when you're on site, I know of some places, I even had to call just to say, hey, are you all checking temperatures anymore for sports? Things had just stopped, and we have to have these conversations because we're going to be in here for longer than what we need to be, because I believe we have an opportunity to work in unity, and we're going to have to get there. But I know that's just a tangent. We're going to have to get there. So one last question before the last question. All right. I know, right? So I would like for each of you to give, and we've kind of, just put them into certain, spaces while we've been talking, but to the mothers right now that are struggling they're at home with their children, and they are just up to here, their capacity for virtual learning, to the mothers that have their children on site and they keep seeing cases rising, but they don't have any other options. They have to work. Would you give some advice to those mothers and words of encouragement, as again, we're all in this new normal of where we're at? And so Candace, you can start.
My first advice is, if you're a woman of faith, is to pray and ask that God will give you guidance first, because for me, I have a quick tongue, and so I have to pray before I say things sometimes. And also, Lord, reveal to me what it is I'm dealing with, because a lot of times we say, I need help, but if I'm not specific, then you don't know how to help me. So I would say, let's first be intentional about being specific about what we're asking for. So for example, I need help, I'm tired. No, I need you to watch my kids for 2 hours so I can go to the grocery store. Or mama, can you watch them overnight so I can have a full night's sleep? So that's, intentional. Or hey, sister friend that's a teacher, can you teach my child how to do long division because somehow I missed it, or fractions. And so it's about being specific.
15 years ago.
Yes, it's about being specific, and it's about being realistic with yourself. So it's knowing yourself. And so for me, it's not that I'm not capable of doing that work or teaching my child, is that I know that for my household, I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to pay the bills so that I can create the lifestyle for you when you get older, that you don't have to struggle. And so that's the priority. When me and my husband sit down and we look at what makes sense right now. So, and what works for our household. And what works for our household is that we got to work. And so how are we going to keep the peace in our household is finding people who know how to do it. It's delegating. It's more than just us taking it on. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so that's my advice.
Love it. Miss Erin.
To those moms who have kids virtual, okay, get a friend, get a partner. There have been times Sean has called me and say, hey, what did you think about the math? And I'm like, I got mad and frustrated, so I just told Eden to just finish it. But it turned out that Eden did not get it. Eden clicked on through. I guess she took her time. She was on it 30 minutes, but she clicked on through, but she didn't get it. And had I not had an accountability partner like Sean being like, so what was the problem? I was like, I looked at myself like, this wasn't even about Eden. I got impatient. So as parents, we have to be able to check our egos so that we can help our kids. Sometimes you don't get it right. Sometimes they don't get it right. But don't get mad at them if they've never been exposed to it before. And so I've had to take that a step back, and she say, okay, I'm done. And I say, did you get it? And she's like, no, but there wasn't an assignment due today, and that's not the point. We have to lay the foundation so that they can move forward.
I love that. Great advice so far. Rebecca, what would you say? And again, as a parent, as an educator, lay it on us.
I want to agree with both what both Candace and Erin said. That both of those are very important as a parent, period. Because your kids, like Candace said, asking the yes and no questions, that's what we call in the education where they'll be self-reporting. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the self-monitoring. Do you really know that you got it? Like Erin just did. How explain it to me? How do you know you got it? So definitely do those things that the ladies just said. But also be intentional with the planning process. Don't just make decisions in haste because you feel pressured to make whatever your decision is. If it's virtual, if it's sending them virtual, if it's taking them out and they were on site, bringing them back home, whatever it is, don't just do it based off of pressure from people, based off of your haste to make a decision because you got other things going on. Make sure that your decision is, like Candace said, sound, and it's thought out, and you have done all the perimeters around this decision. You have searched out everything. You've gotten wisdom from the district. You've talked to people who work, whatever it takes for you to make that sound decision, do that. And then communicate with your teachers. We need that. I mean, we have a responsibility. We have a mandate to talk to parents, on a regular, if not a weekly basis, every other week or bi-weekly, especially those that we see that are not, meeting the standards that we have set. So make sure if you are purposeful in reaching out to your teachers first, I guarantee, now it's not 100%, no guarantees 100%, but your teacher will more than likely be willing to assist you with whatever supplements you need to help your child be successful. You see the memes and you hear us complaining or fussing or making little stories or whatever, but a real teacher has the kids at heart, and we want to see our students succeed. It's hard for us to go into the classroom and not be able to interact with them. My kids don't touch me. You can't touch me. We're not supposed to touch. They want a hug, even in high school. And so we want them to be successful. And we know that sometimes the parents don't have those tools. Tell us what they need and we can get it to you. So make your decisions soundly. Like Candace said, have grace for yourself. You don't know it. We don't expect you to know it. So, use the tools that you have. Now, on the other side, I have to say, don't dismiss everything that the teachers do either. Just because you don't understand it. We know that. But if we're giving you this, then 9 times out of 10 is something that's user friendly. And we're saying, okay, if you would take the time, like Erin said, she got impatient. If you would take the time to go through this, you might grasp it a little bit. And it'll be an easier experience. It won't be perfect. It's not going to be perfect at all. But it will be an easier experience. And once we have all this collaboration, the child is going to benefit from the adult partners, making sure that we are setting this foundation for the kids to be successful. Because like I said, that's what it boils down to. All of these decisions and everything are for the children and for them to be able to get out of school with knowledge and wisdom and experience, because they're living in a history book right now.
Right.
Their children are going to read about this. And so for them to have all this going on, we have to remember all of the elements that's going through their minds as well. Right. So just take all of those things into account. And, if you need help, scream it. Don't sit there and suffer in silence and you snapping the kids up, slapping the kids up, whatever, however it comes out. Get some help. Call whoever. Get your accountability partner. If you got teachers, reach out to them. I'm a teacher, but I know my scope of expertise is ELA. It is not science. It is not math. It is not anything in those fields. My daughter has come to me with questions. You know what? Talk to such, because that's not my area. We have those moments too. I'm not going to try just because I have educator.
Right. We're Googling.
Trying to be the super. No, I'm not. And so I understand my space. So moms, understand your space. Understand your limitations. If you can't, like Candace said, look, can you get the kids tonight? Not 2 hours tonight, so I can go to sleep and get some rest. So I won't snap. You won't see me on the news in the morning. I just be real. Be 100% with yourself and understand that we are all in this together. Like Sean said, that unity is vital to the succession of everything that we're dealing with, but especially with education.
For sure. And just to, of course, I agree with 1000% everything that was stated. And I don't think I can say enough to that. I'm harping on that word, the pivot and the reset, that it's just where we are at. And that grace has to be given on all sides. And we cannot allow a lot of what's going on the outside to instill disrupt that flow of what that flow of success looks like within our homes.
Right.
I want to encourage mothers that, because we can have a false comparison of what other mothers are doing because we see social media feeds. and remember, we're all telling you the story that we want you to see.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. And so it is time, I think we just need to elevate these conversations and to know, and if you are that mother, that is just, you have it down so perfect. Your schedule is just on point. And you have snack time just all well, and you cook dinner every night. Even before this conversation, I was telling the ladies, the girls had some amped up bologna sandwiches and blueberries with chips. Junior and the 4-year-old had peanut butter and jelly sandwich, frozen blueberries and chips. I'm going to have me a sandwich after this.
And call it a night.
We just have to be honest. We don't have to try to paint this picture of, I don't know, just Claire Huxtable, Mary Poppins, all these people wrapped up, and you can be those things in seasons, but into everything, there is a season. And right now, this season is causing us again to reset. But I do hope that I do believe that whatever systems we put in place now and we see our children thrive and succeed in, those are the same things and principles that we can keep post this. We can, be intentional and build those spaces and community and support systems now. And we can do this in the midst of chaos. Oh my word, how much better can our children, us as mothers, how much better can we can become because we've learned to flourish when the odds were stacked against us.
Can I say 2 more things and I'm done talking?
Yes, this the coach. Yeah, this is the educator coming down now. This probably the coach. Y'all know she's a life coach. This is the coach coming down. Come on, coach.
One, you mentioned Claire Huxtable, and people always do say stuff about Claire when they're talking about the perfect wife. Claire would come home some days and lay on that couch and she wasn't looking at the kitchen. And she told them kids, look, I worked all day. I've been in the courtroom all day. Don't come asking me about nothing. And so sometimes we have to take that approach. And I know we feel guilty as moms. It's like we're pushing our kids off. But if you are not right up here and you can't deal with it, you're going to push them off for real, physically. And so you have to take that moment. She said, just give me 15 minutes on one episode. And they still came at her, well, Mama, can you sign this? And then I give you 15 minutes. No, you have to be firm, in your boundaries as well as, as a mom. You have to carve out that time for you. If you can't help Junior with his ABCs right now, figure out a moment that you can come back and you're in a good space and then help him with it. Because if your mind is all cluttered and frustrated, you're not going to be any assistance to him anyway. You will be the videos that we see. If little Tommy had 10 apples and he took away 4, you will be that mom. And so
I actually was that mom today. No exaggeration. I was that mom today. I mean, I was that. Did you like? I was, and I had to tell my daughter to go. I said, "You go and take a 2-minute walk outside. I'm going to go do something." Literally, we had to separate.
Yeah, I've been that mom a few times, and I'm like, "How you the child of a teacher? You can't get, it gets ugly." But you walk away and you breathe and come back. And then the second thing I wanted to say was, you said that if we embrace the pivots and the different changes, one thing that this has definitely done that I love, it has forced technology on districts who were not willing to bring it in. They were just trying to ease it in and creep it in. Like Candace mentioned, the emails. Our kids need to know these skills. They have to know these skills because of the trajectory of society. Yes. They cannot not know it. And so that is one thing that I tell parents all the time, help them embrace it. Because I teach high school and I don't know how to send an email. Why not? And so that's another lesson that I have to do. And I don't mind doing it because, that's my area. But you need to know how to do this. You're going into an area where this is going to be the norm for you. It's not going to be the exception. So embrace the technology, the different softwares you're having to learn. It's teaching them different skills that they didn't even know they had.
And email etiquette. I've seen more emojis and acronyms and memes, and I'm like,
oh my God, Erin.
I know y'all parents ain't in there while y'all typing that stuff in that group chat.
Some of them
are wearing it out.
Some of them are, but hey, text language. Teach your kids not to use text language when they're emailing anybody.
Yeah. No, you raise up a valid point. I mean, especially you raise up a professional etiquette, professional use of technology. I think that's the thing, because our kids are using technology, with TikTok and all that stuff, but the professional use of it, and especially for our minority children. We definitely have to, there is another side to this conversation that we are having to really ensure it. And I would encourage mothers, whether they're on site or virtual learning, you have to input into our children. There's always a lesson behind a lesson.
Yep.
you can't just throw and say, hey, well, here it is how the Constitution was formed. And, you know, like there's always lessons that have to be
Right,
added on because there has to be different levels of understanding, you know. And so, okay, but yes, um, intentionality with our children, with our low income children, you just have to give more. But
yep.
again, though, to everything there is a season. And that's why I'm just encouraging mothers, and why we had this conversation on tonight, that uh, our perspectives and our experiences are real. Even if you feel like I am not, you maybe feel like you're a beast in this, and that is so great. And there's always areas of improvement. And if you are that mother though that have just said, "Hey, I don't know how much longer I can do this," you're not the only mother that's feeling that way. And we
Right.
need to be honest and communicate that with teachers, with your family, build that
Mhm.
support system. And also all I was going to ask about what's the courageous action that we're all going to do, but I believe we've just stated that so much over and over, that giving ourselves grace, going along with that readjustment and the reset and the pivot, understanding that as mothers, we need to take a step back because again, we I am not the mother that's going to tell you that I will um you know how let me say it like this, to well, I do just anything for my children. I'm going to do anything for my children but lose myself.
You can't.
You cannot, but we have mothers that's
Mhm.
going to that edge of insanity. And you all, that is not healthy. It's
Mhm.
not biblical. We have to just start putting real principles and not what culture says that we should do as mothers. Or again, we're trying to keep up with what these families are doing. And we are going to be honest, you all.
Yes.
Be honest with yourself. And then two, I've come to tell my children that I am not perfect and that I am more than your mother.
Hmm.
And I know mothers probably looking at this, someone probably like, I am more than your mother.
Mhm.
That's
I'm an
excellent.
entrepreneur. You all are teachers, professionals. You are more than being a mother. And I had to tell my children this because I'm like, what if the people that don't have children? You know, motherhood is what defines my life. Well, a part of what defines my life, but
Mhm.
it's not the one all in all. It's a totality of the
Right.
calling that I have. And it's a totality of what you have to do as women here. Part of the totality of what you have to do. And so you are listening, and we've went over our time, but that's because honestly, with this topic, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. But on Courageous Conversations for Action, I just wanted to bring the conversation of just the realness of of some of the experiences. These are not exclusive, but just some of the experiences of what we've been dealing with having our children on site in places, having our children at home. You heard from an educator. And again, we're all trying to navigate to the best of our abilities in this new normal. And uh, just wanted to just bring the conversation, and we may have to do it again. And so I'm so grateful to you, Miss Candence, Miss Rebecca, and Miss Erin for coming on with me, for sharing, and for being a part of, uh, people in the group that I can reach out to for business or personal reasons. And so I hope every mother will begin to create those spaces for themselves. And so thank you all so much for joining in Courageous Conversations for Action. And I will see you all on the fourth Thursday of this month. So thank you all for joining in, and have a great night.
Good
All right.
night.
And I'm going to end the live, but y'all can stay on for 60 more seconds.
Okay.
But bye, everyone. If I can turn it off, I don't know how to turn it off. Okay.